Parents, this video is for you if you've had a gut feeling about your kiddo. And I want to acknowledge, as a parent myself, if you have a gut feeling, odds are you're right. And the challenge we see and the frustration that I see in working with families for over 15 years now is that parents often do have these gut feelings early on. And when they bring it up with their pediatrician or their doctor, it's often sloughed off. Don't worry, they'll outgrow it. We see lots of kids with that same concern. Don't worry about it. But if your mama gut, if your daddy gut is telling you something's up, or maybe your mom or dad, your kiddo's grandparent has mentioned, have you ever wondered why they have so much tension in their body? Could that have anything to do with what's going on now? I want to share with you in this video what those early signs might be showing about your kiddo, and more importantly, what you can do about it. So you may have a toddler at home who is starting to show some early signs. Maybe it's autism, ADHD, sensory processing, anxiety. Or maybe your kiddo is a little bit older, 5, 6, 7, and they already have a diagnosis with one of those things. I want to help tie things back to early on in their nervous system so you can understand what you can do to help them and help their brain and their body. So here's the deal. Early on, your mom and gut might be wondering, I was really stressed during pregnancy, or we had fertility challenges. Is that impacting my baby right now? Or maybe you had an induction and things didn't go as well as you wanted, an emergency C-section. Maybe there was forceps or suction or manual traction to pull baby out, and you look back and wonder, could that be contributing? Maybe your baby was colicky and fussy and they didn't nurse well. They had lots of reflux. Maybe their head was stuck to one side. And some of those early stresses, you're wondering, is that an indication of stress in their body right now? We might talk to parents whose kiddos have a lot of congestion. There's like chronic ear infections, always stuffy sinuses. They get cold after cold after cold. Their immune system doesn't seem to be clearing things out. Or maybe they're constipated and backed up and you know their digestion is off. Maybe your kiddo missed some milestones. They didn't roll very well. We're working with a little boy right now who parents want to sit, but he hasn't rolled yet, so we've got to work on that early milestone to get his body strong enough and his brain in the right order to build on these later things that we want for our kiddo. So maybe they skipped crawling and you're wondering, is that contributing? And it's often something, especially say with autism, that might not show up till a little bit later. If your kiddo's in preschool, you might be getting some reflection from the teacher. Their speech feels a little bit behind compared to the other kiddos. Or I find that they often isolate themselves. Maybe they're doing some repetitive behaviors. They're not making eye contact. I feel like their social skills are a little behind, or their emotions just aren't regulated. So if your kiddo's in that age and you're getting that feedback, you're starting to look. You're starting to wonder, what can I do now to help my kiddo? So I want to show you a chart here that helps tie things together. And what we're really looking at is how the nervous system is working. And we're going to focus as your brain is sending messages down your spinal cord and your kiddo's spinal cord, this very top part of the nervous system. And in this area, you're going to see something that's called the autonomic nervous system. And I want to step back here. In this realm, you may have heard a term called dysautonomia. And this is one of the most critical terms to help your kiddo out because it has to do with how their nervous system is processing not only their external environment, but their internal environment as well. And often we'll see things like speech, social, emotional showing up as the concern, but really we have to go back to what are the building blocks underneath that. Because your kiddo's brain is developing in a certain order and it needs a solid foundation to allow speech, social, emotional, some of those higher level things to happen. And this happens first through the autonomic nervous system, because this part of our nervous system, autonomic, is like automatic. It should be happening on autopilot. What's in that category? Good sleep is in that category. Digestion, immune system, movement, whether it's rolling, sitting, crawling, walking, we don't have to think about stepping off a curb as an adult because our brain is doing that automatically. So some of these automatic things that should be happening on autopilot, if they're not happening, now we see the consequences later on. That's where we see now the social emotional pieces start to pop up. So as an example here, in this autonomic system, if we zoom in up top here, we've got the ENT system, eyes, ears, nose, throat. We see the vision, so maybe you've wondered, does your kiddo need glasses? Or they're in vision therapy as an example. Speech, immune, digestion, I mentioned. The vagus nerve is in this category. And if you've been looking into ways to help your kiddo, odds are you've heard of the vagus nerve because it's one of the most critical areas to run that autonomic system. Vagus nerve helps calm our nervous system from stress. So if you feel like your kiddo has a lot of meltdowns, behavior issues, tantrums, they feel maybe unfocused, always moving, always going, odds are this vagus nerve is not able to slow their brain down as well as it should. The vagus nerve is also critical for making eye contact and recognizing facial features for your kiddo to understand another kiddo's emotional state. Are they angry? Is what I'm doing making them mad? Are they happy? Can I give them a high five or give them a hug and support them? So all this is happening through this upper neck, this brain stem area. Now, if we go over here to some of the clues that this area is off, you're going to see in this list some of the things that do happen early in life. Like I mentioned, colic, lots of crying, torticollis and plagiocephaly. These are things that have to do with oftentimes during labor and delivery, if something gets stuck out of alignment in your kiddo's neck. Torticollis is when their neck is stuck. Plagiocephaly is when their head bones are, in a sense, flat or shifted and not rounding out the way we want them to. Those are signs that there was stress during that labor and delivery affecting your kiddo's nervous system. I mentioned the ear infections, that congestion, immune system, the vision, the hearing, sleep is in that category. And now as a result, if we go over to this side, that's where some of these bigger things can show up, such as autism spectrum, sensory processing, ADD, ADHD, anxiety. And when we look at this then, one thing that I do want to emphasize is that in our office is we're not treating autism, we're not treating any of these diagnoses, we're simply taking a step back and saying, what is happening with your kiddo's nervous system? And to bring all this together then is that these early signs are often signs that your kiddo's nervous system is under stress. And it doesn't mean that all kids who are colicky go on to become autistic. What it simply means is that if your kiddo's nervous system is under stress early on, and now there's more and more and more stresses being added, it's just gonna add to the work your kiddo's nervous system has to do to stay healthy. And if these early building blocks are off, now when things like social, emotional, speech should be coming online, your kiddo's brain is working so hard at the things that should be automatic, it doesn't have the resources to do those higher level brain things. So this is why when we sit down and talk to parents, we go back to not just what's happening currently, but we go back to pregnancy, labor and delivery, infancy, and all those pieces and start to see, was there stress early on that's contributing to where your kiddo's at now? The good news is, regardless of where your kiddo's at, and maybe they are already doing PT, OT, speech, maybe they're doing ABA therapy or vision therapy, and you're trying to get them back on track, we can still help. Because what we do when we go backwards is we're helping your kiddo's nervous system get it out of a state of fight or flight and into a state for learning and growth and development. So now all those therapies that you're doing start to become more effective. And maybe your kiddo isn't all the way that far down the line yet, and you're wanting to help their development now by getting their nervous system in a good healthy state now. It allows that autopilot to start to happen, so all those other things take care of themselves down the road. So if this resonates with you, I'd love to talk more. I'd love for you to check out our resources on our website, our blogs, our other videos, and learn more about your kiddo's development so you can feel empowered to help. If you have any questions, feel free to message us directly, put something in the comments, and we are here for you. We're here for you to figure out the journey of parenthood to best help your kiddo. I'll talk to you soon.